What's up guys, Quinn here as always. In this video, I wanted to talk about something super important, especially in the times of COVID-19. Over the past year now, people have really been struggling financially with just losing jobs and not having enough money for things they really need. But even before the pandemic, it was found that over 60% of Americans do not have an emergency fund big enough to pay for a $1,000 emergency. And in Canada, 73.2% of people have some kind of outstanding debt that restricts them from paying for emergency costs. This is most definitely an issue, especially in today's climate. So we need to come up with ways to make you or help you save money extremely quickly, in order for you to start building up enough savings to cover those emergency costs or just keep saving them for the future. Now, there's no surprise that these issues come about just because people aren't saving enough money from the beginning. Usually people aren't overspending too much, but they really just aren't putting enough money aside from the start so that they can actually build their savings over time. On average, over the past couple years, in North America, people only dedicate about 3 to 4% of their income to their savings. That's not so good, especially because from my other videos, you'll know that I talk about trying to get to 20% as the minimum amount of money that you want to be saving. So if you're one of these people that only saves about 3 to 4% of their income right now, you better stick around for the rest of this video so I can give you some tricks to saving money quickly. Now, each of these tricks can be implemented immediately into your life, and they're designed so that you don't feel like you're cutting back on spending money as much, even though you really are. Now, before we get started, make sure to go hit the like button and subscribe to my channel so my tricks for saving money can help more people on YouTube. But let's get started with number 1. Okay, now the first trick is never spending any money ever. Problem solved. Thanks for watching my video, guys. Just kidding, don't worry. My first trick is actually never buying today, but instead buying tomorrow. Now, this trick is really designed to cut down on impulse purchases that are so unbelievably easy these days, especially with shopping online. We've all gone on Amazon and bought a couple things and really realized that we didn't need any of them once they got shipped to us. And it doesn't really feel like you're spending any money, especially when it's online. But this is actually super interesting once you start digging a little deeper. Many studies have shown that shopping actually releases dopamine in the brain, which brings a sense of happiness and well-being to you. Now, the actual release of dopamine doesn't happen when you're physically purchasing the product, but instead it comes from the anticipation of buying something. So from this, we can actually conclude that purchasing a product won't actually bring you that happiness that you think it will. It's actually the anticipation and the window shopping that does it for you. So it's really better to hold off from buying the product in the moment and instead do some window shopping to give you that happiness, and then give it a day before you decide you really need this product or not. This will save you tons of money, because once you've had the rush of window shopping, the next day when you go back to that product, you realize that it doesn't seem as exciting or necessary as it may have the day before. This is a strategy I like to use, especially when I'm buying something kind of expensive like clothing. For example, just a couple days ago, I did some window shopping online at one of my favorite clothing stores, but I actually held off from buying anything in the moment. And then I went back about a day or two later and realized that I just didn't need anything I had picked out, and actually didn't end up buying anything from the store. So just from sleeping on my decision and restricting myself from buying those clothes in the moment, I actually saved so much money. Now, sometimes this is just not the case, and even when you go back a day or two later, you realize that you still want something as much as you did before. And in that case, sure, it's okay to buy it because you do see some value in it. But more often than not, you'll go back and realize that it's just not necessary to pay for that product. If you try to implement this strategy, you won't feel like you're cutting back on spending, but instead you'll just feel better about the purchases that you actually want. Now, the second trick that I find super helpful when making purchasing decisions is asking myself, do I really want this product, or would I rather have the money that it costs? So I encourage you to start thinking about this. Would you rather have the product or would you rather have the cash? Think about it. In essence, by not spending money on the product that you wanted, it's almost like you're being paid to save that money. Now, don't take this the wrong way. By not spending $1 million on a sports car, you did not get paid $1 million. But instead, when you're making everyday purchases that you don't spend that much time thinking about, it really helps you prioritize what's important and what you can live without. And it also gets you thinking about the act of saving money rather than the act of buying something. If what I've said so far doesn't intrigue you into trying this strategy, take a look around your room right now, whatever room you're in, and look at all the things you have in there and decide if you'd rather have that item still or have the money in replace of it. I think you'd be surprised to find how many things you'd just rather have the money for instead of that item anymore. I'm sure a lot of this would also come out of your wardrobe as well, especially if it's something you've only worn a couple times or never wear at all anymore. Like those $100 pair of shoes that you've worn twice. It has basically cost you $50 every time you've worn those shoes. Not the best use of money. So start thinking about how much things cost you per use, so you can see if the value of the product is really worth the money. Now for my third trick, the question you should ask yourself is, how many hours of work will it take for me to pay for this product? Or in other words, how many hours does it cost? So if you're making $20 an hour at your job and you drop $60 on dinner, in a way, paying for that dinner is costing you 3 hours of work. See what I'm getting at here? We all only have so much time in life, and we want to make sure that we're spending it effectively. Not only financially, but also through personal fulfillment. Given this, it's vital to spend money on things that are super important to us, but spending money on things that don't give us long-term value aren't always the best choice. You can think of this in the example of getting into shape. Is it worth eating a big burger or a candy bar so that you have to go burn it off for another hour in your workout? Or is it better to not have that candy bar beforehand so you don't even have to go do that hour workout? And I think we all know the answer to that, especially if you're a bit lazy. It's a lot easier to take things out instead of having to burn them off. And the same thing applies to spending. It's a lot easier to avoid buying something than it is to make more money to pay for it. And again, if you start thinking this way, I really truly believe that you will be more mindful of where you're spending your money and understanding how long it will take you to pay for it through work hours. Now for my fourth trick, a fun exercise you can do is when you avoid spending money, put that money that you didn't use for a product into a savings account. Now this is not only a great way to effectively save money, but it's really great because you can immediately see the results of saving every time you put more money into that account. Let's say instead of ordering takeout one day for lunch, which would have cost you $20, you decide to make a healthy meal at home that only cost you $10. So that extra $10 that you saved from eating at home goes into that savings account that you dedicated for it. Then after that, do this for every single scenario that you save money in. Once you start doing this, you'll see the money in your savings account keep adding up over time. And you'll really feel good about it because you can see that immediate increase, which will probably make you keep doing it. Again, this is really about seeing that immediate reward for saving money and also being more mindful of where you're spending it. Now, eventually, people will get to a point in their life where they physically cannot save any more money, unless you decide to, go live in a van. But once you get to that point, you'll have to shift your focus from saving money to actually earning more income. But that topic is for a whole other video, so I will save that for a different time. But hopefully, for all of you who are in a pinch right now financially, and you need to start figuring out how to save more money, hopefully these tricks will help you. Now before you go, don't forget to go smash that like button and subscribe to my channel so I can continue helping you save money and working towards financial success. Thanks guys, I will see you next time.